Welcome to Fridays for Fundraising. In the next 5 minutes, you're going to learn one step you can take before you leave the office today that can move fundraising forward for your small nonprofit. Hi, I'm Kelly, founder of From Scratch Fundraising, where we help nonprofit leaders raise more dough without burning anything. Every Friday, I'm here to serve up one bite-sized fundraising assignment that you can tackle in about an hour. Think of it as your weekly recipe for sustainable fundraising success. No overwhelm, just actionable steps that actually move the needle. Before we dive in, a quick thank you to DonorBox for making today's episode possible. Raise more with DonorBox, the donation platform that lets you customize, track, and connect with all of your donors. www.donorbox.org. You can sign up today. This week, we're focusing on making the case for professional development and fundraising support. Too often, nonprofit leaders are expected to magically know everything. But they don't. So many founders or new executive directors that I meet are subject matter experts in something else. And then they're handed an organization and they are expected to know everything about running a nonprofit. Or people with a marketing background are hired into a fundraising position, and there are certainly transferable skills, but they are also very different skills. And we can't learn more without professional development. Otherwise, it's just playing around, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And often our causes do not have time for that. But despite this need for professional development, many boards don't want to put money toward it. So how do you make the case for professional development when your board just isn't getting on board? What I find works the best is not to focus on the pain, but focus on the gain. Not what are we currently losing out on, what's hard, but rather if we invest in this, I think we can expect these results. Paint a picture for your board of what won't happen because you don't have the expertise or you don't have the support to do something. This is where I find the most powerful arguments lie. It isn't that, I as the executive director am just too strapped for time. I don't have time to cultivate the donors. Oftentimes boards won't say, then we totally see why you need fundraising expertise. Often they're focused on a different problem. How do we get more off your plate? Could you delegate to more volunteers? Could you just reallocate your time? Magically have more time, right? Usually when we tell our boards what a problem is, they often troubleshoot the problem. Can we get these things out of your way, right? This is like classic, right? I don't think we're going to reach our target goal for resource development. And so boards dive into where can we cut expenses, right? Instead of investing in building the resources to do the things so you can buy the things you need, right? This is classically what I see. But instead, painting a picture of your gains, the potential that you are missing out on. Usually this is more positive, it's more inspirational, and it doesn't give the board a lot of options to nitpick and tell you how to do things better, right? Because you're not presenting a problem for them to solve, you are presenting an opportunity. There are some simple stats that you can take a look at. Donor retention is a key one. How many donors are retaining? If our donors are not being retained at a high rate, we are effectively losing money we have already earned. So instead of presenting, donor retention is low, we're losing money, and having your board come up with a million other ways to bring in new donors, talking about donor retention from the perspective of these are donors who already believe in us, but we do not have the bandwidth to report back to them to keep them. And if we increase our donor retention from 20% to 60%, we would keep fill in the blank amount of your annual revenue with us. And that is money that is just hanging out there if we get better at donor retention. So I would like to invest in learning how to do donor retention really well. Then you can see the gain. The board can see, ooh, if we invest in this, here's the outcome. Whereas when we're presenting a problem, we're hemorrhaging money, right? We're losing X amount of money and I want to spend more money to stop losing money, right? This presenting it from the pain perspective makes boards want to double down on not spending money. But if we can show them the gain, look how much more money we would have if we got better at donor retention, if we got better at donor acquisition, then we can present the case for spending funds. And I'll give you an example from one of my clients. Low donor retention was costing them $100,000 per year. They were raising around $100,000 from new donors every year and only retaining about 20% of those donors. So of the $100,000 they were hustling super hard to raise, they were only keeping 20,000 of that. Now, if they had gone to the board and said, we're losing $80,000 a year, please let us hire a consultant to fix our fundraising program, do you think that would go well? It didn't go well. They presented hiring a consultant, me, to help them with their donor retention issue. But when they presented it to the board as we're losing $80,000 a year, please let us spend $12,000 to fix the problem, they thought they were making a good case. Look, if we spend $12,000, we raise $80,000. What the board was hearing was, we just lost $80,000. Please let us spend more money. Instead, they reached out to me. They came to me. They said, we really, really want to hire you, but we can't sell this to the board. Help us sell this to the board. And I presented this paradigm of pain versus gain. You're presenting it from the pain side. Let's present it from the gain side. That if we got 60% donor retention instead of the 20 they were currently raising, that's $40,000 they didn't have before. So when they went back to the board and said, oh gosh, look, we found a consultant who can help us fix this thing for $12,000. And we believe that that investment of $12,000 will yield at least $40,000 on the low end. That is the lowest possible amount we could raise. Then it felt like money well spent to the board, right? And they greenlighted it instantly. And even better than that, they spent $12,000. We ended up gaining back $100,000. We got it all back. And so of course the board was thrilled. When we come to it from this standpoint, we're losing $80,000. Let's lose another $12,000. Boards get very timid. But when it's let's spend $12,000 to get back at least $40,000, now we're getting somewhere with our board. So this is often where I see executive directors and fundraisers getting it wrong, pitching that need for professional development or consultant help, is that they are pitching it from a standpoint of, this is a problem. We need to stop the problem. And it's usually presented in such a way that it's too generic and board members can quibble about the right way to solve it. And they're always going to want to solve it by not spending more money. So when we instead present it as a gain, if we do this thing, we can raise this much more, then board members are much more likely to be sold because it's a very specific expense to gain. So I want you to think about that and think about, what do you stand to gain by solving a problem? Can you base that realistically in data so that you can present it that way? This is the cost of this thing we want to invest in, and this is what we believe the return on investment will be, so that you can present the gain to your board members. And if you are tired of going it alone, but you know that your board isn't going to spring for a big consultant budget line item, I want you to consider joining Sustain and Thrive. It is the most support I can offer at the lowest price point I can offer. And that price point is just $300 to $3,000 per year, depending on your annual budget. The payment system is pay as you grow. So you pay based on how much revenue your organization is bringing in. So I only make more money if you make more money. And you get a full course, 12 months of step-by-step support that you can watch at your own convenience. It's just like this podcast. I break the monumental task of building a fundraising program or fixing a failing fundraising program with step-by-step, action by action support. It's exactly like this podcast. So if you love this podcast, you will love this program. And you can implement it on your own timeline. In addition to the course, you get a community of peers and access to me for 1 whole hour every week in our group coaching calls. These are the best hour of my week when I get all of my Sustain and Thrive clients in a Zoom room and we talk about the challenges we're having. We talk about the successes we're having, and everybody gets in a room and supports each other. It is just the best hour of the week. But for you, that means you have access to me to ask absolutely any questions you have about implementing the program at your nonprofit every single week. So many group coaching programs don't offer that level of week-to-week support. And on top of that, you get access to me and your community 24/7 in our community space, which is linked to our course content. So you have so many ways of getting support from me, from your peers. I promise you, you will never feel alone in your fundraising again. So think about, what do you have to gain that's worth that cost? $300 to $3,000. Put Sustain and Thrive into your professional development budget and then apply. Go to fromscratchfundraising.com/apply to fill out the application. On the application, you will see what your monthly payment would be, so you can put that in your budget. Even if you don't have your budget approved yet, go ahead and apply. Then you'll be ready to join the second that your board approves the budget. If you apply, I'll even help you advocate for the budget so that you can join. That is how badly I want you to get this support. It is such a great community. And when this community exists, I want you to know you don't have to fundraise alone. Your homework this week: figure out what you're missing in terms of support. What do you need to learn? What kind of help do you need to get? Figure out how you could get that expertise and what it would cost. Then think about, if you get that expertise, what will your organization gain? And then write that into your budget request. Present it to your board, not in terms of pain, but gain. And use data, irrefutable data, so they can see the need, not argue about it. That's it. That's your assignment for this week. So whether you are coming up on your new budget year and you're making those budget requests of your board for the fiscal year that starts in July or September or October for some organizations, this is a great tip to implement right now. And if you are an organization whose budget resets at the end of December into January, that your fiscal year is the same as the calendar year, save this episode and come back, re-listen when you're in that budget building process. Remember, fundraising success isn't guesswork. It's following the recipe. I'll meet you here next week with another great tip.
Now go make the world a better place.